What is up, XRP community? Welcome back to another video. Lawsuit outcomes and breaking news from the SEC, cracking the whip on the entire crypto industry, shook up the entire markets. I'm going to get into all of that here in a minute. As always, we give away $10 in XRP every day on the channel. To enter the giveaway, like the video, subscribe with notifications on, and comment anything in the YouTube comments below. And if you need an exchange for digital assets or things like XRP, I recommend Uphold. It's simple, sleek, and secure. It's the exchange that is my go-to for all digital assets. Link is in the video description below to check out Uphold. I'm going to lead with this clip here from Gary Gensler. I'm not going to play all of it. I'm going to play what I think is important. This is his regulation he announced yesterday. It was big news all over the markets, Twitter, mainstream media even covered it. And it's an allegation, or not an allegation, but a demand to crack into end their staking program. I think this is actually a positive for cryptocurrency, and I'm going to break down why right after this.
Oh, not like the steakhouse. Basically, if you transfer your tokens to a staking as a service provider, they take control, possibly pooling your tokens with thousands or millions of others while promoting returns. But here's the rub. When a company or platform offers you these kinds of returns, whether they call their services lending, earn, rewards, APY, or staking, that relationship should come with the protections of the federal securities laws. That means you, the investor, should receive important disclosures. For example, what do they actually do with your tokens?
I think it's actually a positive thing. As the investor, why is that a bad thing that we know where our tokens are going? In the case of FTX, and Gary will go on to touch on these things, FTX, the exchange that was commingling their funds from customers with their hedge fund, with their other business. And then in the case of Luna, where you had this 30% APY being offered, where does the yield come from? What are they doing with our tokens? I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think this is a positive example of regulation, but he says a little bit more.
Are they really staking them? Are they lending, borrowing, or trading with them? Are they commingling them with their other businesses? Where do the rewards come from? Are you getting your fair share? Are the underlying crypto protocols genuinely creating value on your investment? Or are they just new tokens that dilute the value of ones you already have? Remember, if you have a stake, that's S-T-E-A-K, if you have a stake meant for two and cut it into 3 pieces, it's still the same amount of stake. Unfortunately, because these staking as a service providers generally are not providing proper disclosures, there's currently no reliable way as an investor to know the answers to these important investment questions. Plus, when you sign on the dotted line or accept the terms of service, you are generally agreeing that placing your tokens with these providers may mean transferring your ownership to them. There's an expression in crypto, not your keys, not your crypto.
Not your keys, not your crypto. Well said. Words out of Gary Gensler's mouth that I'm actually proud to hear him say. Perfect example of why you guys need a Ledger cold wallet. This is what it means to have your keys. If an exchange has your crypto, they have total control over your crypto. It's not even technically yours. So don't buy these off Amazon because there's preloaded, hacked ones, scammed ones. Buy them directly from the Ledger website. I have one of each of these. If you guys don't have one of these, be secure with your crypto. I have a link to Ledger in the video description below. And guys, if you use Twitter, give me a follow on Twitter, but more importantly, join my Twitter community. Anyone can tweet in there, and I'm going to start going through that in videos. And if there's good tweets about XRP or the markets, I'll just cover them and give a community feedback. And then I'm going to play this clip here of Ripple outcomes, what a Ripple win looks like. But some news that might not be the most bullish news ever, but I keep it transparent, I keep it real here. I've been talking about Bitcoin going back to 11K for a long time. I don't think the bottom of the market is in yet. Why is that? 2 reasons. The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Grayscale, the largest institutional holder of Bitcoin, they have 1% of the supply. They offer an institutional fund where you can buy 1 Bitcoin, and it's currently at a 40% discount, which means you can, if you're an institutional investor with 100 million, you can buy Bitcoin at a 40% sale through Grayscale instead of buying it off the market. So why wouldn't you do that? right? That's the first thing until a bull market. Once there's no discount on the net asset value of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, that's the first thing. Second thing is when the Federal Reserve stops raising interest rates. For the past century, the bear market rip, when the market really tanks significantly, and I don't know how much it'll tank, but when it actually hits the fan, it's after they pivot, after the Federal Reserve pivots interest rates. And so we have 6 months to a year. And this guy, eGrad Crypto, is saying if XRP rhymes with cycle A and cycle B, history doesn't repeat, but it often does rhyme, then we have 270 days to 300 days until the next bull run. That's a positive. Stack some fiat, make some money. There's going to be better opportunities to buy, in my opinion. And it's just a waiting game. Patience is the virtue. And I don't think this is necessarily the most bullish news, but the Federal Reserve isn't stopping raising interest rates anytime soon. So I'm not surprised. And now for this clip from Digital Asset Investor and Paul Barron and John Deaton. He's a lawyer right here. Really quick, if you guys want $41 guaranteed for free, sign up with Webull, deposit just a penny, and you can get up to $3,000 in free stocks. Typically, you'll just get $40 to $300, but it's a great offer just for signing up, depositing a penny. You're guaranteed a minimum stock value of $40. Sell your stocks, close your account, do whatever you want, but don't miss out on this great offer. It does end soon. And now, what a Ripple win would look like.
What happens with the SEC at that time? Are they pretty much done with possibly responding or trying to launch a counter at that time? Is the case over, or what's our next step or next risk?
All right, well, let's look at possible outcomes, right? So let's take the first outcome possible is that the SEC gets an outright win. I know you want to start it with a positive, but that's the first negative result, right? Yeah. And then a second option is that Ripple gets a flat out victory. And then, of course, there's a third option where there's a partial summary judgment granted in part and denied in part. Oh. And that could be a split. And then finally, there's a fourth outcome that it's a split, but also a jury trial could necessarily be needed for certain issues. Oh. The only two issues that I foresee a jury trial where the judge could say this particular issue needs to be decided by a jury is if we get to the fair notice defense, right? Ripple even said in their papers, Paul, that the fair notice defense, whether or not Ripple received adequate and fair notice, that's a jury question for the jury to decide. Now, hopefully the judge doesn't get that far, right? Because hopefully she never rules on fair notice defense because it's an outright victory. So back to your question, though. Let's say there's either an outright Ripple win, or the judge says that Ripple offered an unregistered security in 2013, 2014, and fines them for that, but that today ongoing and future sales of XRP are not considered securities. Either one of those are a great victory. And so then the question is, what would the SEC appeal the decision? Would they then want to go to the Second Circuit? And I don't think they would. Right. The interesting question, the most interesting question about all this, Paul, is what you're getting at, which is, okay, John, what happens on the ground? If Ripple wins or they're held to only violate the law in some very early years, some very beginning sales, but today's XRPs and future XRP sales are not securities, what happens? Well, we would see some price appreciation, one would expect. And whether or not Coinbase, Crypto.com, Kraken, Binance US,
get the relist.
The question is, what do they do? Do they relist? If the SEC doesn't appeal the decision, then the law of the land is Judge Torres, and you would think that they would relist, right? Especially in today's environment where you have the SEC and Gary Gensler saying, oh, there's so many tokens or securities. If you've got clarity on XRP and there is no appeal and Judge Torres' decision that XRP is not a security, if that's the law of the land, then of course you would expect those exchanges with that kind of clarity to relist